The wind howls across the Great Plains, tearing at fabric teepees so thin you'd think they couldn't survive a single night. Winters here weren't just cold. They were brutal enough to kill the unprepared before dawn. No thick stone walls. No modern heating. No insulated yakits. And yet, Native American families stayed warm till morning. How do they do it? Not with luxury, not with convenience, but with knowledge, simple, powerful tricks that turn deadly weather into survival. In this video, we uncover 7 forgotten Native American heating hacks, so ingenious that even today's modern technology struggles to compete. The first line of defense against the cold wasn't fire, it was snow. Sounds crazy, right? The very thing that freezes your toes on the way to school was what Native families turned into protection. When storms rolled in, they didn't wait to suffer. Families grabbed sticks, shovels, or just their bare hands and piled snow high around the base of their teepees. Sometimes waist high, sometimes taller. From the outside, it looked like their lodge had sunk into a drift. From the inside, it felt like the storm had lost its bite. Here's why it worked. Snow isn't solid ice, it's full of tiny air pockets. Pack it tight, and those pockets hold still air, one of nature's best insulators. That's the same principle behind the fiberglass or foam insulation inside your house walls today. Even a small difference mattered. Inside the snow-walled teepee, the air could stay just 5 or 10 degrees warmer. Doesn't sound like much? When it's 30 below, those few degrees are the difference between frostbite and waking up alive. Snow walls didn't just hold warmth, they redirected the wind. Instead of icy drafts slipping under the teepee and stealing precious heat, the airflow bent up and over, leaving the interior calmer and warmer. Modern engineers call this the Venturi effect. The tribe just called it common sense. Think about it. While we complain about shoveling snow from the driveway, Native families were turning that same snow into life insurance. Lighting a fire inside a fabric tent sounds insane, right? A recipe for disaster. But for Native Americans living on the plains, the indoor fire system was the heartbeat of the teepee. Without it, nobody survived the night. The fire pit wasn't random. It was dug shallow, about 6 inches deep, right in the center. Too shallow, and sparks would jump onto the walls. Too deep, and all the heat stayed trapped near the floor. Above the flames, the teepee's most important feature, the smoke flaps. 2 adjustable panels at the top acted as a natural chimney. Depending on the wind, you open one, close the other, and the smoke flowed out while fresh air drew in. This created a perfect convection system. Cold air entered low. Hot air escaped high. Oxygen kept the fire burning clean, while warmth spread evenly across the lodge. And this wasn't a set-it-and-forget-it system. Adults took turns through the night, watching sparks, adjusting wood, making sure the flames never died. They were the human thermostats of a teepee. We complain about smart thermostats being complicated. They built central heating out of dirt, wood, and air, and it worked. But when the fire burned low and the cold crept in, Native families turned to one of the oldest survival tricks in human history: heated rocks. Not just any rocks, smooth, dense stones, carefully chosen so they wouldn't crack or explode in the fire. They were buried deep in the embers until glowing hot, then pulled out with sticks, wrapped in hides, and tucked under bedding. Suddenly, the freezing floor radiated. Here's the science. Rock has a high heat capacity. That means it soaks up energy slowly and releases it just as slowly. Once heated, a single stone could radiate warmth for hours, sometimes until morning. Sound familiar? That's the same principle behind your hot water bottle, electric blanket, or even heated car seats. Except Native Americans had no wires, no batteries, just physics. Imagine curling up under a buffalo hide, a warm stone at your feet, while the storm rages outside. Primitive? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. Sometimes clothes weren't enough. In -30 degrees, even the thickest hides couldn't block the cold. That's when some tribes pulled out a trick that sounds straight up wild: buffalo fat and campfire ash. They smeared their skin with thick buffalo tallow, a greasy, stubborn layer that sealed in body heat and blocked the wind. Then, they dusted themselves with fine wood ash. The carbon trapped warmth and even radiated back heat from the fire. Think of it as survival skincare. Today, we spend hundreds on barrier creams, moisturizers, lotions that promise hydration and protection. Native Americans had the real deal centuries ago, made from the scraps of survival. Not glamorous, not fashionable, but when the blizzard hit, survival makeup beat death every time. Out on the Great Basin, winters weren't just cold, they were long. You needed something warm, light, and tough enough to last the season. The answer? Rabbit fur. Tribes stitched together dozens, sometimes hundreds, of rabbit pelts into cloaks, blankets, and even underwear layers. Why rabbits? Because rabbit fur is fluffy, fine, and perfect for trapping air. That trapped air acted as insulation, holding body heat close to the skin. But there was a trade-off. Rabbit skins are fragile. They tear easily. So the tribes layered them, stitch after stitch, pelt after pelt, until they became strong, flexible, and incredibly warm. It was the original thermal underwear. No Patagonia, no North Face. Just time, patience, and nature. We spend hundreds on fleece jackets, puffer coats, and heat retention technology. They did it with needles, thread, and rabbits. And it worked. Fire kept you warm from above. But the real thief of heat lay below, the frozen ground. Anyone who's camped in winter knows the feeling. No matter how big your fire, you wake up shivering because the cold earth sucked the warmth out of your body. Native Americans figured this out early. The solution? Layered flooring. First came woven willow mats, tight and thick, trapping air, just like insulation. Then came piles of reeds or grass, soft enough to cushion the floor, but dense enough to block drafts. On top of all, buffalo hides. First side up, leather side down. Some tribes went even further, compacting dirt floors into shallow beds that held warmth like a primitive version of radiant heating. Forget memory foam or heated floors. Their bedding came straight from nature's catalog: willow, grass, hides, and dirt. Not pretty, but it kept frostbite out and life in. Before crawling into bed, some tribes had one last trick. And it wasn't another blanket. It was the sweat lodge. A small dome-shaped hut packed with red-hot stones. Water poured over them, steam hissing up, filling the air until it was too hot to breathe. Families sat inside until their skin flushed, their muscles loose, sweat pouring off them. This wasn't luxury, it was survival. Why? Because raising your core temperature before bed meant your body carried stored heat into the night. You went to sleep already warm, and the sweat dried your skin. Critical, because moisture in freezing weather is a death sentence. We pay for saunas at gyms and spas. They built sweat lodges from sticks, hides, and rocks. Their spa night wasn't for relaxation, it was life insurance. When the storm raged outside, survival wasn't about strength. It wasn't about luck. It was about knowledge. Snow turned into walls. Fires engineered to breathe. Rocks heated into blankets. Fat rubbed into skin. Rabbits stitched into coats. Floors layered with grass and hides. Sweat lodges charging the human body. Each one by itself might not have been enough. But together, they kept entire families alive through winters that would kill the unprepared in hours. That's the lesson. Survival doesn't come from gear. It comes from knowledge. Gear fails. Batteristi. Firewood runs out. But knowledge stays with you, and it weighs nothing. So, when you sit by your fireplace tonight, think about this. Centuries ago, Families slept warm inside teepees made of hides and sticks, outlasting storms with nothing but ingenuity. Which of these hacks surprised you the most? Drop in the comments. And if you want more survival wisdom, hit subscribe, because storms don't care about comfort. But knowledge saves lives.